I'll try in my phone, Prabhu. I think there is some issue with my laptop camera. It is saying
Oh, okay.
don't. You can disable the live YouTube, Prabhu.
Okay. You'll log in somewhere else or?
Yes, yes.
Okay, please. No. Hare Krishna. Venugopal Prabhu,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
able to on the camera?
No, Prabhu. And
No.
I'll do it on my phone. YouTube is still on, huh?
Yeah, YouTube will on already. You can start if you are ready. Oh, yeah, camera is on, bro.
Sorry for that. Is the audio okay?
Yes, bro. Maybe little louder, speaking better.
Okay.
Yeah, then otherwise, okay, we can hear you. Okay, are we ready, Prabhu? Or
Yeah, Prabhu. I'll share my screen.
okay. Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavat Pranam. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Venugopal Prabhu with us today to share Srimad Bhagavatam today. He's sharing from Canto 4, chapter 25, verse 49 to 51. Okay, over to you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to today morning Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatam class. So we'll start with short Jai Radha Madhav Kirtan. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Giri Varadari Yashodanandana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare So, as Prabhu said, today's verses are Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 25, verses 49 to 51. So, we are in the chapter of beginning of the Puranjara Upakhyana by Narad Muni. So, begin with the Mangalacharan prayers. Omajnanaatimirandasya Gnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnaprestaya Bhutale Srimate Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaurabhaktarinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So, Hare Krishna devotees, again welcome you all for today's morning Sangha. Please accept my humble obeisances. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So I thank all the organizers for this opportunity to meditate on verses of Bhagavatam and to speak today for my own purification. I seek all the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas to be able to speak in line with Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, and also within my own realization. So, start with the verse 49. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukhya Nama Purastadva Stayapana Bahudana Vishayo Yati Purara Rasagna Vipananvitaha. Word to word. Mukhya, the chief, Nama, called, Purashtad, on the eastern side, Dva, Gate, Dva, gate, Taya, by that, Apana, of the name Apana, Bahudana, of the name Bahudana, Vishayo, two places, Yati, used to go, Purarad, the king of the city Puranjana, Rasagna, of the name Rasagna, Vipana, of the name Vipana, Anvita, along with. Sorry, there was some echo. So translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. The fifth gate, situated on the eastern side, was named Mukhya, or the chief. Through this gate, accompanied by his friends named Rasagna and Vipana, he used to visit two places named Bahudana and Apana. Purport: the mouth here is described as the chief or the most important gate. The mouth is a very important entrance because one has two functions. To conduct with the mouth, so one has two functions to conduct with the mouth. One function is eating and the other is speaking. Our eating is done with the friend Rasagna, the tongue, which can taste so many different types of foods. The tongue is also used for speaking, and it can speak of either material sense enjoyment or Vedic knowledge. Of course, here material sense enjoyment is stressed. Therefore, the word Rasagna is used. So here we have the first verse is dealing with the fifth gate, the mouth, and then the next two verses are related to the ears. So we'll take that up later. So just to step back, like as I said, we in the beginning of the allegory of Puranjana that Narada is narrating to King Prachini Bari. So here, what we can see is King Prachini Bari was engrossed in performing various sacrifices and pious activities. And it was not that he was a sinful person, but he was performing various pious activities, but it was not without missing on the actual objective of performing activities in the human form of life. So here it's more like a preaching endeavor by Narada. Out of his causeless mercy he's come. Of course, Prachini Bari is a very qualified person, so that's why he's got the Narad Muni coming into his life. So we can see even for how Narad Muni is dealing with trying to transform the heart of a pious person here. Because we see in various occasions, Narad Muni employs different methods. We always are interested in various methods or tactics for preaching. So here we see for somebody who is pious but materially engrossed. So this is quite a challenging thing. We see when those who are preaching will know this better. Even those who are trying to distribute books, they may have come across. It's quite a different challenge to try to convince, even to take a book, or let alone take up the process of Krishna consciousness for those who are already doing pious activities, because there is that tendency that we're good, we're doing well. So it requires a different method or different level of preaching, where, like we have heard, we need to go in like a needle and come out like a plow, and not really go all guns blazing, because then we'll have the door shut on us, when, especially if those who are pious, they feel they already have figured it out. So they would really not understand, be able to even get a chance to appreciate if we go all out in the beginning. So that's where you see here Narad Muni is employing quite an elaborate process. He's going and telling, narrating an allegory. But of course, he's narrating this not just on his own, but there was, if you see the earlier verses of this chapter, there was humility in King Prachini Bari to accept that he is doing all these things, but he doesn't know where he's going, and despite doing all these pious activities and sacrifices, and what is really the aim of life. So that humility is attracting the mercy of Narad Muni, where he is patiently trying to transform the heart. He is not just giving the essence. Like we know, we have heard the essence in many times, like that we are not the body, we are the eternal spirit soul. But again, for that to descend from just that hearing at a gross level into the heart, and resulting in transforming of the heart, and resulting in taking up, making choices that result in actions that are elevating us in our consciousness. It requires lot of effort. So here you see that effort Narad Muni is taking up, and he is trying to. It's more like a very careful surgery that is being done. It's not like some gross treatment. So he started off with telling about this the city of 9 gates and how this Puranjana is residing in this city and how he is having a good experience engaging with different aspects and people in the city. So he is building the story without directly telling him. Of course, Prabhupada tells us in the purports immediately, so that for our understanding. But when you look at it from, if you hear it as Puranjana, as King Prachinibari, we will get a better, we'll get a sense of how we can detach ourselves from the body and look at what is happening. Like when clearly Narad Muni is separating Puranjana from the gates. And while we know from the previous verses that here we're talking about our senses, the 9 gates of the body. And so just wanted to, as a preamble, mention how or appreciate how Narada is trying to deal with pious soul and trying to elevate him to Krishna consciousness at the highest level, rather than keeping him at his current level of performing all pious activities, but still being materially attached. So in this today's verse, Narad Muni is mentioning about the gate of the Mukhya gate or Mukhya Dwara, which is the mouth. He calls it, and it's the 5th gate is mentioned. I think we have seen the other 4 gates, the eastern facing gates, the eyes, 2 eyes, and the 2 nostrils yesterday. So this is the 5th gate, and most prominent, as mentioned here, as Mukhya, because here, as Prabhupada also mentions, there is 2 functions to conduct with the this Mukhya gate. That is tasting, eating, as well as speaking. So here, one thing to note is Prabhupada says he used to visit 2 places named Bahudana and Apana. So the eating is assisted by the tongue, the friend's rasagna, because by that, with the tongue, we are able to not just ingest food for the maintenance of our body, but we are also able to taste varieties of or get a sense of various tastes that are present. So that's why, in a way, if you see these 2 functions, it's also mentioned like the tasting aspect. It's more like inwards. We are accepting signals from the outer world into the body. So we are it's considered like a jnanendriya. It's acquiring knowledge through the taste. So this, while in speaking is more outward, it is something that is produced from the tongue to engage with the world. So it's karmendriya in that sense. So the That's one aspect. When we say two functions, clearly the first one, as I said, it's the Jnanendriya. The importance of this function is that how it is done or how it is engaged, the tongue in this function has a great impact on the not just the body but the consciousness at a very, very subtle level. So that's where we see like there are so many regulations when it comes to eating, just so that we are utilizing the tasting function in the right way. So in this regard, this first in this sloka, we have this why Narad Muni is giving mukhya here, although he is narrating all the gates. Here he calls it the chief. He calls the mouth the chief. So just trying to connect with the other scriptures here, like we hear even in the Bhagavad Gita, like when Arjuna is trying to understand the characteristics of Sthita Prajna, that and then he asks in the beginning, what's his ka bhasha? So there is, I have this verse here open. So Arjuna says, Sthita Pragnasya ka bhasha, Samadhi stasya keshava, Sthita dhi kim pravaseta, kim asita vrajeta kim. So he's saying Sthita Pragnasya, the one who is situated, fixed in Krishna consciousness. That is a person is referred to as Sthita Prajna. So what's his bhasha, ka bhasha, the language, and kim pravasheta. So what's the what does he speak? So this shows right in the beginning when Arjuna is inquiring from Krishna. He starts with what's the language and what's the speech. So it's important, just trying to substantiate that mukhya aspect that Narad Muni has brought out, and how important the mouth is in a human being's life. So you see, we have also heard that like what one speaks reveals one's nature. So like Prabhupada even says in this purport for this verse in Bhagavad Gita, a fool is undiscovered as long as he does not speak. So a well-dressed fool cannot be identified unless he speaks. But as soon as he speaks, he reveals himself at once. So that's the, so only when through one's speech, one's nature is revealed. That's also why it is so important. How one utilizes that function. So so again another just to substantiate this mukhya. So purport Prabhupada just mentions in today's verse about that it's important, but various places in Prabhupada's translations and purports, he has emphasized the importance of this gate and the mouth. And we can see, and it's not only Prabhupada, but the scriptures themselves, like I said, the Bhagavad Gita here, Arjuna, beginning is asking, how does one Sthita Prajna person speak, and what does he speak? Similarly, even in the Nectar of Instruction by Rupa Goswami, we see the first aspect that is emphasized in the Nectar of Instruction verse. I've come across this. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jiva vegam, udaropastha vegam, etan vegan yo vishaheta dhiraha, sarvam api mam prithavim saseksha. So translation briefly. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. Again, we have heard this many times, how potent this in first verse itself. It brings out the highest level, like one can be qualified to even make disciples all over the world through following this instruction, the first instruction, which is controlling this, the senses, beginning with the tongue. So that again emphasizes the mukhya aspect of that is being brought out by Narad Muni in this verse, how important the tongue is. So you see here, again, the two functions are highlighted in this verse as the vacho, that is to the urge to speak, and jiva vegam is the urge of the tongue. Urge of the tongue is that again here the reference is to urge to taste various foodstuffs. So again, so here in this verse, just again, Prabhupada mentions a lot of aspects, but just to focus on the two functions of the mouth here, the Vacho Vegam aspect Prabhupada mentions controlling the speaking power. So it is so, the urge to speak is very natural. So the importance here highlighted here is to control that urge, because that there is a tendency to invite trouble in our lives by when this urge to speak is not controlled. Like Prabhupada gives the example of the frog or the toad croaking. So although and that croaking produces that sound which alerts the snake of its food, and the frog falls prey to the snake. The tendency to croak is not controlled by the frog. So this same thing we can see in our lives, how at various occasions, because of slight not a slight, but because of this tendency to speak, how we have kind of invited trouble in our lives. So so that's where Prabhupada is mentioning that this unless we speak about Krishna consciousness, or that which is beneficial to our spiritual lives, everything else is in one way or the other nonsense and trying to invite trouble. So also Prabhupada here mentions that does not mean that one just stays silent, although silence is beneficial at various occasions, because that's one way of, and even Krishna says all the secrets silent in Bhagavad Gita. But here Prabhupada is trying to say, he's trying to defeat the Mayavadi tendency to just stay silent at all times. So that is also not good. Like even when something beneficial can be done by speaking some Krishna consciousness, if some stays silent, that is also not good if there is an opportunity. So so that's one more aspect Prabhupada is trying to bring out. Controlling means not like curbing it fully, because it is a gift that comes along with this human form of human body. It is one anga that can be used to elevate our consciousness. Because if you see, or even other forms of species have all these senses that we are discussing. but then they don't have that ability. They just have a particular function of that fulfills like the eating, sleeping, mating, defending that we hear, that is common to even animals and humans. And the differentiating factor is the ability to rise above those four functions and elevate one's consciousness to inquire into the absolute truth. So now that's where it is important to utilize that. When we say human form of life is rare and we need to utilize, if you break it down further, the human form of life gives us all these different senses through which, as a medium, we can try to elevate our consciousness. So here Prabhupada is bringing that out, that we even staying silent when the opportunity to speak Krishna Katha is not correct. So again, so that is about the speech in this verse. Importance to control and then use the tongue for chanting. Of course, Krishna Katha includes all our activities of chanting as well, where we utilize the tongue to connect with the Lord. So that's and it's we know, we have heard the benefits of chanting, and right in the beginning of Shastakam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Chetu Darpanam Arjanam. So the chanting process is how it's elevating our consciousness, because it is helping us cleanse the mirror of the heart that has that is dirty because of accumulation of dirt over millions of lifetimes. So that is the power of the tongue. It enables us to begin the process of cleansing. So this is the true function and the benefit of the tongue here. So also we should understand, and I think this leads to the humility and gratitude also, that we have the ability to utilize both the functions of it. Because like other species don't have the speech and function. And also we see those many times we see unfortunate, but many don't have the ability to speak even in the human form, but only the ability to eat or taste. So then we can by seeing this, we can understand the blessings in our life, and then try to utilize that additional function that we are given through the tongue to make the most out of the opportunity to elevate our consciousness. When I say elevate our consciousness, again, to engage in purifying activities using that using the tongue, which is starting with chanting and engaging in Krishna Katha. So we can see that in the next reference I had. So how to engage the tongue in these type of elevating activities is through practicing the austerities of speech. So like how Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, the austerities of speech. So this comes in chapter 17, verse 15, very often referenced verse. Anudvega karam vakyam satyam priyam hitam chayat swadhyaya vyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapauchyate. So this is the austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. So again, here Prabhupada is substantiating what we are discussing so far. Again, and also going into a little more detail, how one can practice controlling the tongue by these different tapas. So, starting with speaking words that are truthful, satyam. And again, satyam, as we also see, we've heard, in this age of Kali, the last leg of religion that it is standing on is satya, truth. So, and another understanding of truth is one is the absolute truth of Krishna. So that's basically Satyam Param Dhimahi. So speaking words that are truthful, that is at the highest level, speaking about Krishna, and also following as per scriptures and staying truthful in all our speech. So again, when we say truth, next is the pleasing aspect of the truth. So again, Prabhupada mentions that the truth needs to be pleasing as well. So harsh truth, again, there is a time and place for that as well. But that Prabhupada gives, like when a teacher speaks, he cannot sugarcoat the truth if it's harsh. And that is where the practice aspect of this comes in. It's not like something that is a process that can simply mechanically be applied. It requires practice to understand what type of method of conveying the truth is pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating. Because only when that's applied, we will know how the other person receiving that at the receiving end is responding, and accordingly we will need to kind of alter or adjust the way we are delivering the truth. So here Prabhupada says, like, and we have seen many examples of even Prabhupada's conversations with his disciples who are totally surrendered to him, and he also understands them very well, and he knows it is for their own benefit. So he is very seemingly very harsh or very direct. While with some other in social events or gatherings, some audience where, say for example, somebody from Christian missionaries, or they have come. He's very courteous, perfect gentleman. He is not trying to engage in debate there. At various occasions we have seen, he inquires about them, what their activities, appreciates that, and these courtesy is maintained. And only if some of course we have also seen examples where somebody who likes a priest is engaging in debate, and clearly the engagement is the debate format is clear. So there Prabhupada doesn't he is not trying to be just a perfect gentleman, because here it's clearly debate, and there he is giving the truth, trying to substantiate with scriptures and examples to establish the truth, even if it is harsh, like how we see when with Christian priest, I don't forget the name, but he always brings out that you should start with stopping of meat eating. So when thou shall not kill, so that's what is one of the commandments. But he always used to hit back with, you say thou shall not kill, but then you are killing for eating. So this is a harsh truth, and it is, but in a debate it has to be mentioned. Otherwise, cannot really establish that the point that Prabhupada is trying to. So just the example. Those are occasions where giving truth as is okay. But then there are others where circumstances, like example of Prabhupada. But even in our own lives, we see through experience, we will see our understanding again of truth, which has to be told, and how it is received. Because if it is here, Prabhupada also mentions, and the translation mentions that it is hitam or beneficial. So if we keep telling truth, but it is not resulting in any transformation in the person receiving it, then it's not benefiting. So that doesn't mean that we have to tell lies, but we have to try to say it in a way that can be beneficial. And this requires work, effort. So that's what is the austerity that is that trying to be highlighted here. The austerity means there is some difficulty one has to take. If it was otherwise, it's not austerity or penance, as here in the purport Prabhupada says, penance of speech. So that one, as we go through life, we'll try, we keep experiencing this in our day-to-day lives, at work, at home, and we try to alter our speech accordingly. Then we can see the benefit. So and also here in the austerity, regularly reciting Vedic literature. So again, that's one easy way of purifying the tongue, is regularly reciting. Again, we have by blessings of the parampara, we have the process of chanting. So that is daily reciting, engaging the tongue in reciting the holy names of the Lord. And also we have so many literatures that Prabhupada has given, and we can recite those, like daily reading of the Bhagavad Gita or the Bhagavatam verses. So these are all activities that purify the Mukhya Dwara that Narad Muni is emphasizing here in this today's verse to King Prachinavari. Of course, Narad Muni is not telling all this. This is all what other references to the importance of the mouth that we can see from scriptures. But in the verse, of course, Narad Muni is just telling the importance, or just listing down the gates, the 9 gates. And here he is talking about, but he qualifies the 5th gate as Mukhya or chief. So that's where we can get references from other scriptural references to understand why Narad Muni is calling it Mukhya. Also, we have 15 minutes more, but just wanted to bring out that the speech aspect, right? We're talking about austerities of speech. So non-agitating, truth, pleasing, beneficial. Also caution by, I've heard often, and something worth reminding is the avoiding getting into engaging in gossip, which is again not hitam or beneficial, because it's very enticing to engage in this activity. It may be seemingly not harmful. It starts like that, but then it's a very slippery slope. Once you start just some small talk about somebody, and then it goes down slippery slope, and you end up committing offenses, spoiling your own consciousness, hurting somebody, or even creating trouble in somebody else's life or circumstance. So it's a caution that senior devotees always give. So to avoid just from a benefit, in terms of beneficial talk, at home or in work or in any community, this principle needs to be always reminded, because so much hard work of establishing relationships can be destroyed by this one, harmful engagement of the tongue. So again, it's because it's easy to hurt with speech, in either unknowingly or knowingly. It's so easy. So just it's a caution that we always hear and worth remembering in this context. And again, staying with the tongue, to conclude, there are so many references of the benefits. To conclude, I just we always recite every day the prayer before.
ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಹಾಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕೆ ಒಂದು ಕೆಳಗೆ ಕಾಟನ್ ಬ್ಯಾಗ್.
Hare Krishna. So I just wanted to remind ourselves of the translation. We recite this every day before honoring prasadam. Sharira vidyajal jogendriya thayika jiva phele vishwa sagare. So jiva phele vishwa sagare tara madhya jivayati lobhamay sudurmati take jata katina samsara. Krishna bado doyamay kori bare jiva jay. So jiva jay. So we can conquer the tongue. Jiva jaya. Jiva is the tongue, and jaya is the conquering or conquering the tongue by accepting this Krishna Prasad. So how important it is that the sloka by Bhaktivinoda Thakur we recite, it's not only glorifying the Prasad, but it's also reminding us every day how difficult it is to engage the tongue or conquer the tongue, because it is Vishaya Sagare. So it can reminding us or cautioning us how it can degrade us, and again filling us with gratitude that we have Krishna Prasad to counter that or conquer over the urges of the tongue. And this also gives us gratitude to all who are helping us in conquering the tongue in terms of accepting only Krishna Prasad. This is also something to know, because may seem very small, but very difficult austerity, only Krishna Prasad. Many times we see, we hear some questions in classes what to do, and sometimes we see just take Krishna Prasad as an answer for something not directly related question. So then we realize how important it is and how it's all interconnected. Accepting Krishna Prasad starts with that so many other challenges get addressed through that act. So that's what I wanted to talk about in the verse 49. The next two verses are related to hearing. We have 10 minutes. Sorry, it's related to the hearing process. So we'll cover that. Try to cover that quickly. So the verses are verse 50. Pitruhu nripa purya dvar dakshinena puranjanaha rastram dakshina panchalam yati shrutadharanvitaha. Translation: the southern gate of the city was known as Pitruhu, and through that gate King Puranjana used to visit the city named Dakshina Panchala, accompanied by his friend Shrutadhara. Purport: the right ear is used for karma kandya or fruitive activities. As long as one is attached to the enjoyment of material resources, he hears from the right ear and uses the five senses to elevate himself to the higher planetary systems like Pitraloka. Consequently, the right ear is here described as the Pitruhu gate. So we'll see the next verse as well, it's related. Devahur Puryadva Uttarena Puranjanaha Rashtram Uttara Panchalam Yati Shtutadharanvitaha. On the northern side was the gate named Devahu. Through that gate, King Puranjana used to go with his friend Shrutadhara to the place known as Uttara Panchala. Purport: the 2 years, again here in the purport, Prabhupada is covering both the verses, the previous and this. The 2 years are situated on the northern side and the southern side. The year on the southern side is very strong and is always anxious to hear about sense enjoyment. The ear on the northern side, however, is used for taking initiation from the spiritual master and for gaining promotion to the spiritual sky. The right ear or the ear on the southern side is called Pitruhu, which indicates that it is used for attaining the higher planetary systems known as Pitraloka. But the left ear, which is known as Devahu, is utilized for hearing about even higher planetary systems such as Maharloka, Tapoloka, and Brahmaloka, or yet even higher planets situated in the spiritual universe, where one becomes more inclined to be permanently situated. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 9.25. Yanti deva vrata devan pitrunyanti pitrvrataha bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti madhyajino bhima. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. Those who worship ancestors go to the ancestors. And those who worship me will live with me. One who is interested in being happy on this planet as well as after death generally wants to be elevated to the Pitraloka. Such a person can use the right ear for hearing Vedic instruction. However, one who is interested in going to Tapoloka, Brahmaloka, the Vaikuntha planets, or Krishna Loka may take initiation from the spiritual master in order to be elevated to such loka. So in these 2 verses, Prabhupada, again, Narad Muni is explaining the other 2 gates, the northern gate and the southern gate. So northern gate named Devahu and the southern gate Pitruhu. So here he is talking about the years, and the points mentioned here is the southern gate is used for more karma kandya, hearing about karma kandya activities, while for spiritual elevation, the left ear is prominently used. Again, here this can be a little confusing because we don't hear with 1 ear at a time. So I try to get some explanation for this. But of course, Prabhupada and Prabhupada's disciples, we know that we need to focus not on these technicalities of left and right here. Of course, in a karma kandya sense, yes, we have seen in some kind of activities or samskaras, the ear is emphasized. But I was trying to understand because also there is, I was hearing a lecture and Maharaj there was trying to bring out, he said, common question asked is about which year for what and how when we are receiving Gayatri, it is received from the right ear, and here it is mentioned left ear, and kind of externally bewildering. So Maharaj there was mentioning that there are different ways of understanding. It's not that it is what we are practicing is wrong, and this is not the scriptural reference for that activity. But here it's more, we hear with both the ears, and main importance is that we hear. That's what Maharaj was telling, and not about left ear, and not get bothered about the technicalities. In fact, Maharaj there mentioned that this is a trivial thing. Such a question is very trivial, and we should not get bogged down by it. Another nice explanation I heard is these external aspects of hearing from left ear for spiritual elevation and right ear for karma kandya. For karma kandya activities is more trying to recollect. Yeah, so it's important that what we're really doing. I think one verse. I'm trying to get that verse. Yeah. So this verse Maharaj mentioned. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti rit karna rasayana katha tajjoshana dasva apavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishati. So Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir Anukramishati, how the devotional service begins, is mentioned here. And in the translation, we can see, in the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. So by cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begins. So the explanation was that one way of understanding it is it's not about how physically or externally we allow the sound vibrations to enter, that we allow it to enter through the right ear, or we allow one type of vibration to enter through the left ear, because we cannot stop. We are given 2 ears, and when we receive any sound, both ears receive the vibrations. Now, one way to understand this, today's verses is like those spiritually elevating subject matter, those vibrations are received from the left ear. And while those which are materially motivated or karma kandya in nature, those get received from the right ear. So it's in a way, again, this is my own effort to understand, like we see some, like in speaker system. So signal is given, but there are some speakers which are designed to emphasize a certain sound or certain aspect of sound. So when there are multiple speaker systems, if you have elaborate sound arrangements, you would have come across. So it's not just one speaker. Of course, with one speaker also we can get some sound, but in a more carefully arranged sound setup, we'll see these nuances. So there are certain specific speakers for to highlight certain vibrations. So similarly, we can understand the spiritually elevating vibrations are received through the left, and those which are karma kandya in nature are received through the right. So, but again, this verse brings out that what matters is about hearing from the heart, Rit Karana. So that's what I wanted to bring out in this reference, that what we hear really is through the heart. That's what Maharaj was emphasizing. It's not the left, right that matters, but because when we hear through the heart, it results in transformation in our choices and action. So that's where we need to pay attention to what we allow to for the heart to hear. So that's about the hearing, the gates of the Devahu and Pitruhu gates. So these were some points. Again, there are many things to say about hearing, because our whole process of devotional service begins with Shravanam, Kirtanam, So although in this verse, Narad Muni is just enlisting the different gates and talking about the northern gate and the southern gate, Prabhupada brings out that the purpose of or the function of those two gates. So in reference to those that purport, we can see various other references. Again, we don't have time, but we have heard that was Prahlad Maharaj says Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. So starts with Shravanam and Kirtanam. So today's verses, both if you see, the first related to the mouth and the next two related to the ears, are the gates of this city that Puranjana is residing in, which is all of us, reference to all of us. It has these two gates, three gates, the mouth and the two ears, again, which are gifted to us for either, and what we make of it is up to us, how we engage, like how we see, what we make out of this human form of life. Similarly, more specifically here, what we make out of this angas of the human body, mouth and the ears, will determine the outcome of or the what benefit we can derive from the human form by either elevating our consciousness or by misusing it and degrading our consciousness. So with that, I would like to just pause for today. There's some thoughts I wanted to share. The devotees have any questions or corrections, any other reflections to share, kindly do so. Thank you very much. Om Tat Sat.
Hare Krishna. Very, very nice, Prabhu. The bringing out the importance of speech and hearing, especially the point you touched upon, beneficial hearing. That's the most important. Beneficial speech and hearing, both very, very important, and especially for sadhakas. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Now, devotees can unmute themselves and ask any specific questions or share your realization. Can somebody try unmuting just so that we can check, we can do, because
Hare Krishna.
Ah.
Prabhu.
No, I'm other than you, because you are co-host. Other than that, anybody else? Radharani Subhakti Mataji, can you try once so that I can see that others can unmute?
Yes, Prabhu. We can unmute.
Yeah, okay, sure. Thank you. So others can unmute themselves and ask questions or realization, please. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Venugopal Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for a very nice class. I think two points were very, very impactful. One is the daily prayer which we recite, Mahaprasadi Govinde. Many times I tend to ignore the deep meaning and just make it ritualistic, but it's so deep actually. So that is one point which is connected to how this prasadam can actually go and change our consciousness. That's one nice point, Prabhuji. The other one is I have a question. This Upadeshamrita, first sloka, Vacho Vekam Manasa Krodami. So this tongue has two functions. One is to speak, the other one is to it's also a taste bud, right, Prabhuji? So here, normally, my understanding is we have to control the tongue, which is the taste bud, by eating only prasadam. So that will actually help us in controlling the speech also. Because the more prasadam you eat, even among prasadam also, we have to see we are eating not so spicy food and all those things, Prabhuji. So that will help in vacho veham, manasaha, those things. But in the sloka, why it starts with the vacho veham, Prabhuji? It's not starting with the jihva veham. Yeah.
Oh. Why I don't know if I can answer that. Why Rupa Goswami chose to put Vacho Vegam? I've not heard anything particularly in terms of the sequencing, but definitely the combined dual function of the mouth is highlighted even in the purport, that how starting with the tongue, the all other senses can be controlled, and the other way around is, if we try to control all other senses but we ignore the tongue, then that whole effort is futile. So that's again, it's not answering your question. Why, if anybody else has heard or have an explanation, kindly share.
Okay, Krishna. I think Murari Prabhu has raised a hand.
Can I?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Wonderful class, wonderful narrations. Out of the lot, what it attracted me was that hearing either by the right ear or left, hearing through the heart. That was a wonderful point. That what this thing, because we hear so many things, including our spiritual subject matter, through the ears for the sake of gaining knowledge, right? And but to process it further on the way of really to achieve something, that is only through the heart we can do that. If you, unless you got a very soft, very good heart, whatever you hear, it will not be processed properly. So that hearing through the heart is one of the points. It struck me very nicely. Thank you for it, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yeah, there in the translation itself, again, it makes us more humble, because it says after this hearing from the heart begins, it leads to beginning of devotional service. Real devotional service begins, as mentioned. So, so this practice of hearing from the heart is an entry point for devotional service. So that's also connects with Shikshashtakam verse, first verse, the emphasis on cleansing the heart. Cheto Darpanam Arjuna. So, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else want to share something? Yes, Radharani Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. And everywhere we just learn the slokas or even the mantras, but we will not understand the meaning. But only here in KC, we learn and also we understand the meaning. I think that helps us to go know more and more about things and to recite very nicely, Prabhu. And also you said about the hearing from the right ear, that is used for taking initiation. And we just came to know about the importance of that. Thank you very much for the wonderful narration, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Any comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranams. Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu. Wonderful. Prabhu, I mean, maybe again, it's I was just, when the hearing and the mouth came, and I was just thinking, in the mouth, someone may still decide not to have prasadam. You have to literally force it. You can't push it on them. Ears are always open. So I think it's easier to hear and then influence than getting it through the mouth. This is just my thought process of how we normally do, because people are not wanting to eat prasadam. They may, even people say, I don't want. But hearing, they can't stop. How long can they keep closing their ears? Maybe that's more difficult, maybe. But it's a wonderful.
I think it's the experience, different experiences. But if you just, I don't know, I'm trying to analyze your situation further. Because the person has heard that it is prasad, he is rejecting it. So if you see, if they don't hear, because the Annamaya Kosha is the first primary one, which is trying to get developed right from child. If you see the infant, there is no hesitation to put anything into the tongue, because the world is experienced through the tongue. So, what I have seen is, if somebody, because the false ego comes in when they hear the word prasad, because they may try to analyze it further, if they are of a different religion or anything. But if you just give them as food, not tell it is prasad, just my experience, happily it is received, because the resistance for food is so much less. Just
Agree, Prabhu. Agree.
Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Chennai Gaurav Prabhu, please.
Very nice class, Prabhu. And all the questions that were put, like right from Sankarshan Priya Prabhu, and he was mentioning why hearing is Vakyam is important. Vacho Vegam, why it is said, that is also very thought provoking. And what Murali Murari Prabhu said, that is also very, very, very important. And there, Shukadeva Goswami says, what is that heart which doesn't melt? in the initial chapters of Bhagavatam. So that is also very important to take it to heart. Otherwise, it's only at intellectual level. We don't feel that love and the devotion. I mean, we can't feel that ecstasy at all. And then what Mataji told, that is also very important. And only in KC we see all these discussions happening, on a regular basis, daily basis. Otherwise, it was just a mechanical thing that we were actually doing. Now also we are. It is very, very nice to find ourselves that we are in a learning process every day. So there was one of my friend who was telling that he was he had one doctor. She is a PhD candidate. She had double PhD. She was insisting why this learning new things is important from the cognizant point of view. Cognizant science is there. From that, I don't know. I don't understand the technicalities, but that doctor seemed to have told. Every day it is very important to hear new things that we can't even imagine, and that is not possible in the material world other than in Bhagavatam. So that's very, very nice. And Prabhuji also told, Ravi Lochan Prabhu also told a very good point that ears cannot be closed, come what may, mouth can be closed. And Anudvegakaram, Krishna also starts with Anudvegakaram Vakyam. So Kirtan can happen. We first say Shravanam Kirtanam, but actually, unless somebody does a Kirtan, there is no Shravanam. Unless, Shukadeva Goswami would have narrated Bhagavatam, there was no hearing. So it is very important to, the starting process is first somebody who has realized speaks with controlled tongue. Otherwise, then once that is wrong, hearing is wrong. Then, reactions to that becomes more wrong. This is kind of my understanding, Prabhu. So,
yes.
But wonderful discussion, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Prabhupada always emphasized here that again in our process also of giving Krishna consciousness, if you see, is starting with Kirtan and Prasad. Kirtan and Prasad is the main program. And those who accept both, that is for their benefit. But if not, like what Ravi Lochan Prabhu said, in that format, definitely this is what he says makes sense, because many may we may not have time to hear about that it's Prasad. They may just be far away from Prasad or whatever, but they may still hear, say if they're in a different story in a building, but the hearing still happens. So this is all, the whole process is given to purify these different gates that Narad Muni is referring. So it's not just mundane sound vibration or mundane food that is part of the process. So that's where Prabhupada always said, okay, make sure they get prasad, or let them just come and hear something. Even if like his disciples, sometimes he's talking in Hindi to somebody or explaining something in different language. Disciples don't, he said, just hear, sit and hear, because it's the vibration is potent, and it's always purifying the senses. So yes, Prabhu, thank you, Sachitanya Prabhu.
Thank you, Venugopal Prabhu. So wonderful discussion and wonderful points you raised up. I think the time is 9:15 now.
Yes.
So thank you all for joining us here today. Let's thank Venugopal Prabhu for sharing us wonderful realization and points we collected. And also we'll see you tomorrow. We'll end with the Vaishnava Pranam. Pancha Kalpatarabhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Paditana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vranda Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. His Grace Venugopal Prabhu Ki Jai.
Yeah.
Thank God, Premanand Ki.
I end the call here.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.